Ooh, we are ready. We are ready. Boom. We are here. We are here. We are here. A little housekeeping. A little bit of housekeeping. Rate and subscribe if you're listening. Rate and subscribe the podcast. Share it. We want to talk to your mom. We want to talk to your grandma. We want to talk to your friends, people struggling, people doing well. We want to talk to everybody. We're just trying to connect with people, you know? That's what we're doing here, is connecting. I think we do a pretty good job sharing experiences. Shout out to the last podcast with James LaRusso. That was a fucking hit. And look out for his podcast coming out in the next year. We will be promoting that. Maybe we'll have him on a second time to talk about what he's doing, because that was straight fire. If you are just listening, you can watch the podcast on YouTube at Big Mood TV. Find the podcast also on my website, bigmoodcoach.com. Website has a revamp. It is well built. Shout out to Brooke Priest, Prince, whatever. I say everybody's name wrong. But go to the website, and you can also find the podcast on bigmoodcoach.com and listen there. But YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, bigmoodcoach.com, iHeartRadio, we are everywhere. So the agenda today, we're going to talk about Kambo. We're going to talk about conscious contact with God. We're going to talk about the workshop I just did. We're going to talk about intimacy. You know, you get to. Oh yeah, that's the message of the podcast. Bitch, you get to. You don't fucking have to. Bitch, you get to. Change the way you're thinking about that shit. And they always say that. There's certain shit that everybody says and that people say all the time that are just truths, man. And bitch, you get to. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about me getting 12-step canceled. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But so this weekend was a very transformative weekend. I'm going to talk about the workshop, but first I want to talk about Kambo or Kambo, how some people say it differently, and my first experience. By the time this podcast comes out, I will have done my second ritual ceremony. I will be served the second time. But what was my goal was to, my goal changed. My goal today is to fully embrace the encounter with God. My goal initially was to release, this year was such a transformative year, and it's exposed my sexuality, exposed my sex addiction, and exposed, so much of my life was exposed this year. So much of my life was journeyed through this year. Sexual trauma was exposed this year. Relationships were exposed. So much emotional growth this year. Some mental health challenges were addressed. And for the first time in my life, I feel emotionally stable. And, this year I want to not this year, but I want to finish the year with a purge of that. I don't want to, I don't want to hold on to that stuff going into the new year. So Kambo is the perfect transition. And after my first experience, I really feel connected, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about what it was. So the process, so that was the goal. The goal of the ceremony and being served was to release the baggage of the year. So what the process was, we sat down, and I'm having Ahmad Adjani on the podcast on Wednesday. That'll come out Friday. This is coming out Tuesday. So it's Tuesday right now. But I'm having Ahmad Adjani, that podcast will come out Friday, to talk about all the things that the ritual that I went through and other rituals that people go through He kind of participates in it all. So we're going to talk about that. So first thing we did was set the intention, set the environment. Set and setting is important when you're going through any spiritual ritual. It's like there's a difference between doing combo and doing it in the park than or psilocybin or ayahuasca or 5-MeO DMT. It's there's different environments and you can do it at a party, not combo, but you can do DMT at a party or you can do DMT in ritual. And for me, doing any of these sacred medicines are need to be done with the right set and setting. Let me just say, Kambo is non-psychoactive, and that's why I say I'm getting 12-step canceled, because this is unconventional medicine. And let me just say, people don't give a fuck. Like when my liver shut down a couple years ago from lithium, no one blinked an eye. No one blinked an eye. My liver shut down. I thought I had hepatitis, hepatitis A, I think it is, the one you get when your liver is not doing good. And I couldn't eat anything. My liver was so swollen, from the combination of medications I was on. No one gave a fuck when I was, when I had to, adjust through. I've taken 20 medications over my sobriety. That's another reason I don't take sobriety chips, is because I've been so medicated so much of my sobriety. But no one blinks a fucking eye. But then when you go into alternative medicines, people got something to say. So probably people in the 12-step community will question this and judge me, but you know what? Fuck them. Fuck them. Your boy's been 7 years fucking sober off of illicit drugs and really has changed my life around. My actions and my lifestyle reflect, my intention in life. And I think I'm a good reflection of what a recovery life can look like. So anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes. So we started out with rape, which is a mixture of herbs and roots and different herbs and roots and plants. It's powdered down, and he blows it into each nostril to ground you, to get grounded. It's non-psychoactive. There is a rush that you feel. There is a burn that you feel. But we started with that to ground me and, clear my nasal passages, clear my energy. And we started there, and then he did 7 burns on my forearm, which will stay there, which I'm very proud of after doing it. So he did 7 burns, continued to make the setting right. Had music playing and was singing along to the music. He was very supportive. It was so nice. But so as he put the medicine on, I started to feel the effects. And for me, I'm a big guy. I'm 285, big dude. So I ended up doing nine doses. By seven, I was really feeling it. But by nine was when the purge finished for me. And most of my purge was from the bottom down, so poo-poo. That was what my urge was to do. I vomited a lot of liquids. That's why I'm drinking all this water right now, because I have ritual right after this podcast. So there's an amount, I need to drink like 1.5 liters of water and to be well hydrated. But let's describe the feeling of it. It is a battle. I was fighting myself, trying not to let go. Waiting until I couldn't hold it anymore. I was fighting myself. I was like, no. Because that's your natural urge, is to not throw up and to not diarrhea your pants. That's your natural urge, right? I think for most of us, it's like you don't want to be sick. And let me just tell you, if you're worried about this being affecting your sobriety, this is not pleasant. This is not a pleasant experience. This is tumultuous. It's a tumultuous experience. I purged mostly water, got very hot. My face blew up so swollen. At one point, I said to him, I was like, "Is my face swollen?" Because I felt like my lips and my eyes and everything was so swollen. Um, you know, it was tumultuous. So he, I did the medicine and went through this fight. It was a wrestle for me now in retrospect. It was a wrestle with God. It was a wrestle with control. I was fighting source. I was fighting the source. I was fighting God and fighting the medicine. I was like, no, 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 no. And God won. And God won, which makes me smile. Makes me smile. Because the way we finished is I sat on the toilet one more time, pooped, spit up a little bit one last time. And he said, get in the shower and sit on the floor and just soak. And I just sat there and soaked and soaked and soaked. I was in there maybe 30 minutes, just relieved. Then I got dressed. My first rush was pride and clear. But I was very proud, very, very proud to have wrestled, with the source, and the source won. God won, and God will always win. And this was like real conscious contact with God, physical conscious contact with God. Physical. This is when people talk about the fourth dimension, people talk about calculating infinity, like we did a couple of podcasts ago. This is the work. This is tangible work. You can do this. You can do this other ways, right? Like you could do this trickle with meditation, and I support it, but this is an acute spiritual experience. This is an acute battle with the source, and the source will win. The medicine will win. Your finite body and finite mind cannot beat this. It cannot beat this. And you feel so proud to have lost. You feel so proud to have lost this battle. And I felt proud and I felt clear. I felt clear and empty. And then I got dressed and he put 2 blankets over me and like let me cuddle myself, and smile and, be grateful. Be grateful that it was over. Be grateful that it was over. And I felt the presence. I felt there was a clear energy in the space, a clear energy in the space and a clear presence of my source, so it was beautiful, feeling that conscious contact. But it was tumultuous. It was tumultuous. It was not, oh, I tripped and saw. No. It is a battle. It's a battle between you and the frog. It is a battle between you and the source. And this is warrior medicine. In the Amazon, the warriors use this before battle. They use this before hunting. They use this to prepare for transition and for battle. This is warrior medicine, and it is a war with yourself and war with God, I think, and God wins. God wins. So after that, we did rape one more time, and for a different rape, he had one Peruvian and one Brazilian. We did rape one more time to like fully ground me. And then when I was laying there, this part is challenging. We did sananga, which is roots and it's liquid form. And what you do is you open your eyes, you pull your eyes down, and you look into your third eye. And this is supposed to bring clarity and vision. And he drops it in your eyes. And when I tell you, it is torturous. It is fucking torturous. Breathing through it. He gives you napkins. You rub the medicine out of your eyes. You get the liquid out. And I'm going to do it again today, but I am fucking scared to do that again today. That was fucking terrible. Your eyes swell up, but you feel clarity and you just laugh and smile after. This is all a battle. It's all a battle, and the medicine wins and God wins. It's conscious contact. And I just have been in a really spiritual space after this. Not spiritual. I even hate to use that term because it's so lame. But if this throws you off, this is just not your jam. But on here we have doctors, and I've had my blood work read on here, and we have, we have people on the side. We had a doctor who leads psilocybin and guides people through psilocybin experiences. I want to balance between Western and alternative medicines. I believe in both, because throughout my recovery, I've leaned on both. Dealing with my depression and bipolar disorder, I got acupuncture and had crystals laid on me and around me that guided me through that. I would go into treatments manic and come out better than before. So this like alternative medicines worked for me, and worked for me. And I believe skeptically, but I'm open. But if you're not open, none of this is going to be legit to you. None of this is going to resonate with you. And that's fine. I don't need you to believe in it. I don't need you to support it. I just can tell you what my experience is. And if you have had psychedelic experiences, even though this wasn't psychedelic, there's something greater. That's the cool thing about mushrooms. That's the cool thing about DMT and ayahuasca. That's the cool thing about those things. I've never done DMT or ayahuasca. Maybe in my sobriety, 25 years down the line, maybe in my recovery, I'll feel like, this is something I want to do. Already doing Kambo. I'm AA canceled. Ooh, not AA. We're going to bleep that out. Can we bleep that out, Matt? I'm 12-step canceled. Because people are judgmental, and, but my actions reflect who I am as a person, my spiritual growth, and my ability to, clean house, and, take responsibility for myself and share my experience honestly to help others and to work with other drug addicts and to advocate for people with mental health. Your boy does it. Oh shit. Shout out to Third Eye Collective with this fire ass sweatsuit. Fire. We use 1 to see and we use 1 to see and 2 to look. 1 to see and 2 to look. This shit is fire. Go to their website, Third Eye Collection. Go to their Instagram page. This shit is dope. Shout out to all the black and brown apparel companies, and they keep me fresh. They sent some other stuff that I've rocked on the podcast, but this shit is dope as fuck. And it's comfy. It's warm. It's good quality hoodie. I get a lot of hoodies from companies, and they're not all good quality. No shade. They know you people. Where you're buying your stuff from, and Third Eye is really buying their. They're providing quality apparel, and this is a quality ass hoodie. So thank you, shout out to them. But back to the programming. It made me think today, and I was listening to a song, and it talks about God. I'm listening to a lot of worship, even though I'm not a Christian. I always have to say that because people will shut it off. But I talked about on the podcast on Calculating Infinity that I take parts of Christianity, and that's the thing. I play with alternative medicines and South American medicines. I play with Christianity. I play with Buddhism. I play with all of it, because my job is to grow spiritually. That is my gig. And I made a commitment to that. And I walk the walk, and I do the deal, and I try and I stretch myself spiritually. And you don't have to believe in any of it. But I was listening to this song, and it talked about this, God does not owe you shit. God does not owe you shit. The world doesn't owe you anything, but yet the world is rigged in your favor. But don't have an entitlement when it comes to spirituality. I don't know if that makes sense to you. We're not going to go fully into that. I don't know if that makes sense to you. This is going to be a lot of God talk today. But I don't chase a spiritual life so I can be blessed. I don't chase a spiritual life because there's there's prosperity, religion, prosperity, spirituality that manifests it. You deserve everything. And that's not why I chase a spiritual life. I chase a spiritual life because I want fucking peace. And Kambo was me chasing and battling my way to God, and God won, and I felt the presence. Woo! Bitch, we out here. That shit was fucking crazy. And I'm doing a second ritual directly after this podcast. So by the time this comes out, I will have done my second. and I'm doing a third on Tuesday. So we are diving deep. We're trudging the road to happy fucking destiny, dog. We're out here doing the work. My friends reached out who are in this space and were like, yo, you're doing it. You're doing the work. And they wanted me to do it 2 years ago, but I just wasn't ready. And now I'm ready and I'm in the midst of it. And shout out to Ahmad for guiding me and really being a blessing in that regard and like taking me through the mud and taking me out on the other side and smiling with me at the end and laughing with me at the end. Smiling, laughing with me at the end. I can't wait to talk to him. He's also going to talk about 5-MeO. He's also going to talk about ayahuasca. We're going to talk about all that. Even though I don't do that stuff, we're going to talk about it. And like I said, who knows? 25 years down the line, I may want conscious contact. Maybe. I'm not bound by that. But I understand that's dangerous to tell addicts and alcoholics because they may feel like they can do it. And I know some people have done DMT and end up shooting that shit up and like fucking doing speedballs like, I see God, dog. It's like, nah, fam, that's the thing with illicit drugs bring you further from God because they bring you into self and they bring you into ego, self-centeredness. They bring you into violence. They bring you into the need for more. And I don't feel the need for more after Kambo. I don't feel the need for more in meditation. I feel the need for less. I feel the wanting for less. And we'll talk about that a little bit down the podcast, but I wanted to really get into Kambo and get into the spiritual experience that I had. And getting into conscious congruency. Heard that phrase this weekend, conscious congruency. My spirituality and my thoughts align with my actions. So if you regard yourself a healer, are your spiritual principles aligning with your actions? For me, I'll be honest, sometimes they're not. You know, my partner and I are going through a very challenging season, and I regard myself as a spiritual person, but yet when it comes to her, I'm so obsessed with self and my discontentment. We're going to get more into that. But so involved with myself. So my spiritual life, this spiritual bullshit, rah that I talk, but yet in this relationship and with my family, I'm so selfish. Conscious congruency. My spirituality and my thoughts don't align always with my actions. But as we talked about on Calculating Infinity, there's a journey. Like I talked about it yesterday even because that's what I'm on right now. That's just the space I'm in right now. The key to spirituality is willingness. And the rest, once you're willing to open your mind to it, the rest of your life is the journey through navigating, mitigating, and assessing and relationship with whatever your spiritual life is, whatever that is. Even if you're a fucking Christian, once you say you believe, now it's relationship. Now you're journeying the rest of your life to build relationship. And I think we ebb and flow into conscious contact with God. It's not linear. You know? And Calculating Infinity, we touched on that a little bit. But that's the thing with the Buddha. The Buddha journeyed to enlightenment, then found it. Journeyed through enlightenment. But I want my spiritual beliefs to align with my actions day to day. And they don't always. And I want them to. So that's something I need to work on. There's always something to work on. But I did this transformational workshop, and my biggest takeaway, and I didn't tell them this. They didn't, I was very shy, which I'm not shy. Obviously, I come on here and talk shit. So, hold on one second. Let me let that bitch breathe. You know, I was shy in the workshop. I didn't want to overshadow the other people who were breaking through. And a lot of the stuff they talked about on the workshop was stuff that I talk about on here and stuff that I already really feel like I live, but I did learn a lot. And what I did learn is that my intimacy, over the past 2.5 years, since I went through like spiritual, went through the mud spiritually and like went through in my personal development as a human being, I got intimate with myself. So on this podcast, what you hear is someone who's very introspective, very introspective, and has, if anything, being humble. You know what's better than being humble? Being self-aware. It's better than being humble. Nothing's worse than someone who takes up all the space in the room and has no idea. So one thing you will see on this podcast and you'll hear, and I'm consistent with, is that I'm self-aware and conscious. And meditation has made me intimate with myself, with Eric. But what is that reflection of? That's a reflection of selfishness. But in the workshop, what I learned is that I'm an overspender, right? Like I throw money around. Always have. Always have. I buy a lot of clothes. It's impression management, as my sponsor says. And I'm flirty, and I have a need for validation. And I still have a need to be liked. We talked that on this podcast. I still want to be liked. Please like me. Please like me. I still want that. But my sex addiction, I still, want to be accepted. But what I uncovered is through my past trauma, especially my trauma with men, the trauma with my father, my trauma with the guy who groomed and molested me as a child, the man who did that, my trauma with my quote unquote friends who chased me out of neighborhoods, called me a nigger, and just made me hate my blackness. My trauma with men led to a lack of intimacy with men, which led to a unhealthy relationship to what intimacy was, which led to an unhealthy intimacy with women, and the needing and seeking and fucking the striving for validation through external. Ooh, these are bars right now. I don't know if you motherfuckers are ready. I might be speaking a different language. Me and Betty talk about this. Sometimes this podcast, we're in 5D over here, dog. We're in 5D. So I think part of the reason people don't get this is because we're speaking a fucking different language, bro. But yeah, that lack of intimacy is the root of my problems. And it's selfish, my character defect, selfishness, and self-centeredness, the root of all my problems. I got intimate with myself. I do things that make me feel good about myself. I buy a lot of shit that makes me feel good about myself. I want people to like me because that makes me feel good about myself. But really what my focus needs to be is getting intimate with my partner, my children, my friends, other men. I need to learn how to be intimate with other men. I need to learn how to be intimate. Actually, what is being intimate with a woman? It's not sex to me. We'll get there. That's a journey. That's a journey. That's going to be a journey. I don't know. I tell my oldest son, he gets so uncomfortable when he hears stuff about sex. I'm like, bro, you're going to spend most of your life thinking about this, so get over it. I know it's weird, but you're going to spend most of your life until you're however old, probably till you're 80 using Viagra, you're going to be thinking about sex and how you can get your dick wet. Get some lady to touch your dick. So don't be weirded out about it. This is going to run your life for the next 80 years. But yeah, this is my lack of intimacy is kind of the root of it, the root of it. And if I'm thinking of from a trauma standpoint, so yeah, that was a big takeaway from this weekend. I have a hard time being intimate, and I'm most present. The time I am most present is right now, and I'm able to be intimate with you guys and gals, whatever your pronoun is. I'm able to get intimate on this microphone because it's me, and this is what I do in meditation. This is me. This is the process I travel through my own meditation. How we doing on time, Matt? Shout out to Room and Board for being the podcast. They are the podcast. But yeah, how we doing on time? Beautiful. But yeah, man, my lack of intimacy is really the root of what's going on with me. And the impression management. I think if you like the way I look, that's you connecting with me. That's not intimacy, dog. It's not intimacy. One thing that I want to jump down to is actually we'll finish up with that. Let me move that around. But I just breathed right into the mic. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, I talked about it maybe 6 months ago on a podcast. I can't even remember the name of the podcast, but I still want to be liked, and so do you. So do you. We want to be liked, right? We want to be liked. And the thing is, not everybody's going to like us, nor should they. I don't like everybody. So why should everybody like me? But I think once I grow in intimacy with others, I'll be able to not need to be liked because I have people I'm intimate with. That's something to think about. Validation is not intimacy. It's a false sense of acceptance. It's a false sense of acceptance, So yeah, so we got to the meat and potatoes. But I want to change my relationship to people. I still want your validation. Obviously, I have a podcast. Please like me, please connect with me. So obviously I still want your validation. I still want likes. I still want content. I still want my content appreciated, which is validation. Sometimes it's affirmation. Friends of mine reach out to me and say, "You are gonna blow. Your boy's waiting to get on, son. I think we got something special here, to be honest with you. I really think we do. I think we're doing something different. I don't consider myself just a Black podcast. I'm a Black man who does a podcast, but I think we cross racial bounds. I think we transcend race. I think we transcend sex. I think the podcasts we have on here are broad, and we're speaking a different language. We're in 5D. Either you on it or you ain't, right? You hear what I'm saying? Let that bitch breathe. Hopefully they can edit that out, but I don't give a fuck. It's fine. One thing I heard this weekend, and one thing that's like, and one thing I have in regards to conscious contact, sunrise faith. And that's bars right there. Sunrise faith. I want sunrise faith. That's what I want. So earlier in my sobriety, earlier in my recovery, it was belief in God. I just needed to believe. I needed to be willing to believe. Not believe in an organized God, but believe that there was something that I don't know who God is. I'm just not it. Let me just believe something else that will transform my life. And for me, it was very easy. It was like, whoa, one day I just magically didn't want to shoot dope. And for me, I wanted dope all the time. I wanted dope like I was fucking, like I needed to eat. And then magically I was like, oh, I don't want dope anymore. Easy to believe in God when that happens. Something divine intervened. Easy to believe in God, but I want sunrise faith. And what sunrise faith is, no matter, the sun will come up every day. Period. There will be nightfall. The moon will rise. The moon will be there. The moon doesn't rise, but the moon will be visible and the sun will rise every day, no matter what. And well, obviously, if there's a cataclysmic event, then maybe this will not be the case. Who knows? But then the world will be over. But as long as the world is revolving, the sun will fucking rise. And what I've learned of my recovery is I've had years of depression. I've had years of manic episode. I've had years of destruction in my sobriety. And it's always okay. It's always okay at the end. Every time. So your breakup, it will be okay. Your job switch, your divorce, the death in your family, it will be okay. Sunrise faith. That is a very good concept. But I jumped down in my notes. I jumped down to something. So the reason a big reason I do all the spiritual shit is because I don't want to need things. Like this sweatsuit is dope and it really feels good. Like I feel fucking really good in this outfit today. I feel really good. And that feels nice, right? That feels nice to feel good in the way you present yourself. It feels nice to feel good in your acceptance. It feels nice to feel good with your validation, your car. It feels nice, but I don't want to need any of it. That's part of what I love about Buddhism is and I know this, my suffering is my need of the world. It's my suffering. So, that's why what Kambo was so profound about it is I was wrestling and in that moment, I didn't need anything, but I just needed to be in the space of the conscious contact. So let's just give that a go. But But something we talked about too, and talked about earlier, and the name of this podcast, bitch, you get to. Bitch, you get to. You don't have to. There's lots of stuff that you, in your head, it seems like you have to. Like, you get to. And for me, I'm fucking lucky. I've tried to commit suicide. I've been on death's door. So all like this podcast, that's why I'm so stoked to do this shit, because I get to do this. I never thought I'd be able to do this. You know, raise kids. That's so naturally like that. Not so. I don't. It's our basis as human beings to have children and to raise them. That is our. If we take all this, 5D talk, we take all this bullshit out of it, take this sweatsuit out of it, take all of that out of it. That is what we're doing here. We're feeding ourselves and reproducing and feeding our children. That's what we're doing. Take all of it away. But the idea that I'm able to raise children, I get to. That's what some men told me. They were like, Eric, this is the greatest opportunity in your life. Bitch, I don't have to. These motherfuckers abandon their children. I get to. I get to do this podcast. I get to create. Like, what have I been avoiding? So I have, go to Big Mood Coach and look at everything we're doing. Look at everything I'm doing. Look at everything. I do shit. I just, besides this podcast, I don't encourage people to go there. I don't use my podcast to sell anything, which I'm proud of. I don't use it to sell anything. There will be sponsors and people, I will be selling things for other people, but like of my own shit, I'm not selling anything. I probably should, I will go over some of that stuff. But I get to do all the things that I do. I get to do them. It's pretty fucking tight. So change that language in your mind. Bitch, you get to. You don't fucking have to. But what I was saying was there's things that I'm putting off. Like there's pieces of my my sober coaching program that are like intricate pieces. They're minor, minuscule details, like forms I need people to fill out, like intake forms for my case management and liability forms, and like, ugh. It's boring. It's not the sexy part. Building the website out, building the services, building the pricing list, building the aesthetics of my business. That's fun, right? That's fun. It's like you're creating your thing. You're creating your thing, and it's fun to do. But I put it off. But I get to do that because I get to be a business owner. So it's instead of saying like, oh, I have to fucking, no, bitch, you get to. You get to, there's other things. Taking inventory every single day, looking at my day and say, was I fucking selfish? Was I self-centered? Was I a piece of shit today? Looking at that every day, even though generally I do look at that on a conscious level. Like I've been in this life for so long that I'm very self-aware. So I know like, were you shitty today? I know when I'm shitty. I haven't been shitty yet today, thank God. But I will be shitty by the end of the day. I'll do something that I wasn't supposed to. Or not supposed to, but something that wasn't my best. And just looking at that every day. And like in the morning, looking at every morning and setting the intention every morning, which I do generally. I do. It's always fun to say. I said duty. It's always fun. That's been fun. That's been fun since we were 5. How are we doing on time? Probably around 42 minutes. Let me get 30. Oh, so close. 38. But we get to do the things that we do. We get to be in relationships. There's a lot of people who are lonely. We get to clean our homes because there's people not living in homes. And that's just a cognitive shift that we all need to I hate that generalization. I'm sorry, guys. We don't all need to. I need to do that, But there's a few other things I want to finish with. This I got so many notes here. So I know we're bouncing around, but we'll tie it all together. So another thing we talked about this weekend in this workshop was comfort zones. Like everybody's got comfort zones. For me, like there's certain places, like for me, this podcast, a comfort zone. I'm in my element doing this. I love doing this. Public speaking, comfort zone. Even though I get a little nervous, which I think most people do, I'm in a comfort zone. Like I'm sharing, I'm expressing my life and expressing my story. It's like me, it's like someone who sings singing. It's comfortable, and doing this podcast, especially because no one else is in the room, I'm in my comfort zone. And when I'm talking to guests, a lot of times, not all the time, some people are not interesting. And I'm not comfortable talking to not interesting people because you got to then force something interesting. It's hard. But like James's podcast, I was in my comfort zone. I was talking to a homie who has a cool ass story. I'm interested. It's very comfortable. So doing this podcast in my comfort zone, in my recovery community, comfort zone. I have people kind of like appreciate my influence there, and it makes me a better person. So I'm there. It's very self-seeking in the sense that makes me a better person, makes me feel good. So in my comfort zone, where I'm not comfortable is being intimate with my children, and it goes back to intimacy. It's a callback, tie that bitch together. Being intimate with my partner and being intimate with my kids, not comfortable. I don't like, let me just tell you a secret. I don't fucking like kids. Love my own. But I'm not naturally one of those people that's like, I love kids. No, I don't like kids. Besides my own kids, I've never been around kids in my whole life. Besides my own kids. So I'm not naturally a nurturing guy towards children. Maybe because someone fucking touched my dick as a little kid. Molested. maybe that is plays a role why I don't feel comfortable around children. But yeah, I love my kids, and I'm not in my comfort zone when I'm being a dad though. And my oldest, I treat him like a homie sometimes, not like a kid. And I want to create an environment that's like free and liberated. And I don't allow him to be liberated. Like he does TikTok dances. That drives me fucking I hate it. Like, why does that bother me? It's so fucking, I hate it though. It's so obnoxious. He's like, fucking, that shit is so fucking annoying. If you're watching, I just did what those TikTok dances look like. So annoying. But it's hard for me to be like intimate with my kids. I take really a lot of time to talk to them recently. I'm like, okay, when I'm with these little fuckers, I'm gonna like really enjoy them. Try to. So I've been, over the past couple of weeks, since I've been diving into the spiritual life a little bit more, I've been able to connect with them more because kids are divine. Kids, every child is born with the innate sense of God, and what God is love, and kids need love and want love naturally and provide love naturally. Sometimes my oldest will just put his hand on my shoulder, and I'll be like, "What's up, buddy?" It's usually my answer. "What's up, buddy? How's it going? What do you need, buddy?" My little one will be like, "You the best daddy ever." I'm not the best daddy ever. I'm decent. But in his mind, he loves me. He just naturally loves me. "You the best daddy ever." But then sometimes he's like, "You a bad daddy," when I'm not doing what he wants, So break out of your comfort zones. They don't keep you. In this podcast, I didn't listen to this podcast. Since I started working with Room and Board, I listened to every single podcast back. And yeah, every single podcast I listen to back, unless I know exactly where the greatest parts are, or like parts that make me cringy. And the parts that make me cringy, even though I do listen to them back, yeah, I listen to every podcast we do since we've been with Room and Board, and since I started doing monologues because I wanted to get better. But it wasn't comfortable for me. It wasn't comfortable. No one likes hearing their own voice. And now it's not that I like hearing my own voice. I'm just comfortable, and I wasn't initially. So we could tie it all together. The Kambo experience was really profound. I'm about to, by this time this releases, I will have done my second serving. That's how we call it. That's what we would call it, ritual serving. I'm about to go into battle right now, preparing, drinking my water. I'm about to go into battle right now, and God will win. God will win. Hopefully I don't shit my pants. I don't want to shit in my pants. That's something that would bum me out, to shit in my pants. But I'm doing all 7 doses at one time, so this is going to be fucking crazy. This will be a battle. And by the time this podcast comes out, Dad will be on the other end of it. But we're trying to have conscious contact with God. The workshop I did this weekend was super transformative. Even though the people in the workshop were like, you get you get out of it what you put in. I got a lot out of it. I just wasn't vocal about it. It wasn't like, they made me dance. Ooh, they made me dance. When I was using, I would dance my fucking ass off. Pacha in the 2007, 2008. Pacha, man. Woo! Pacha from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York City nightlife. Leaving Pacha on a Sunday morning. Motherfuckers are going to church and your eyebrows are up to here. You're tripping face. I dance my ass off. That's tripping face. That's what we used to call it. And I'd be fucking on a sick one, dancing my ass off. In this workshop that made me dance, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to set on fire. I'm going to spontaneously combust. But anyway, I realized that intimacy is a big part of my problem. It's the root of my problem is lack of intimacy, but there's so much trauma there. And I think this is actually something that Eric in the booth wanted me to talk about. Toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity. Here's the interesting about the thing with toxic masculinity. There's a level of it that comes from old school men just not being in touch with their feminine side, kind of just being abusive to women and men and teaching their children to be abusive to women and men. There's a level of that. But I think it's like 37% of men are raised by women. It's interesting. So for me, I think I wouldn't blame my father and the men in my life are passively to blame for my toxic masculinity. It was their absence. My father wasn't absent, but he was disconnected. But the idea that I had no man to teach me what divine and mature masculinity was. And I had women to teach me, to attempt to teach me what masculinity was. And I think that's a lot of the case for a lot of men, that they've been raised only by women. They've had more female, influence, and a woman cannot teach a man to be a man. I don't give a fuck what you're saying. So I think a lot of toxic masculinity is the lack of intimacy with healthy men. See, we're speaking in 5D. I don't know if this makes sense to any of y'all. I don't know if this makes sense. But for me, I think I'm teaching my kids healthy masculinity. I am firm, but I am soft. I'm silly. I laugh. They see me laugh. They see me pray. They see me seek God. They see me not be dogmatic. They see me not be religious and bound. They see me be free. They listen. My oldest son has heard me on this podcast. My little one's like, Daddy, is that your voice? It's so cool when they hear me, working on a podcast or listening to the podcast back. They're like, Daddy, that's you. Oh, so cool. So cool. But they hear me create. They see me love their mom. They see acts of affection with their mom. They see that. They see me connect with family. They see me be present generally, for the most part. I'm at almost every family event, almost every single one. That's one thing my dad had to miss a lot of, was family events. And, I'm actively there for most of them. Oh, fuck, we're going close on time. I'm going to wrap it up. But intimacy is big. And the title of the podcast, Bitch You Get To. You need to stop saying you fucking have to. I need to stop saying I have to, but you get to. I'm just getting lucky, baby. I'm just here, happy to be alive. So you can play us out. But again, check out the podcast on bigmoodcoach.com. It's on there now, so you can check it out. If you listened all the way through, rate the podcast, subscribe, share, and if you're just listening, go watch it on Big Mood TV and share that with your friends. We want to connect with you. But yeah, we love you. Good podcast. I'm about to go journey and get my ass kicked. God wins.